We're going to start with politics.
Okay. We had Bill Barry yesterday. That was, Mr. Barry was quite passionate yesterday morning, speaking about why he decided to drop out of the leadership race with the Progressive Conservative Party, and he was very vocal yesterday morning.
He was indeed, and overnight the PC Party has put out a release related to the upcoming convention and how they're going to melt together the what was going to be a leadership vote, which is now basically the confirmation that Frank Coleman's going to take over as the new leader of the party and the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, and they're going to have their AGM at the same time. We wanted to give Tommy Williams, who's the co-chair of the PC Party Leadership Convention, an opportunity to respond. Well, first of all, to talk about some of the things in the release, but as well to respond perhaps to what Mr. Barry had to say yesterday. And he joins us live here on 590 VOCM this morning. Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, Fred.
Let's talk about your release, first of all, and your decision by the party. You met with the leadership committee over the weekend to, I guess, for lack of better words, melt together your AGM while you've got all these people together and the leadership convention.
Yes, what we had planned to do was obviously just the leadership convention originally, and there would have been a number of factors involved in that in terms of time-consuming issues regarding votes and speeches, things like that. Given that we don't have a contested race now, that's freed up some time for us on Saturday. So what we've decided to do, as opposed to have our annual meeting in the fall, we will join the annual meeting with the convention so that we can do some party business and get ready for the election. We're planning on doing some election readiness business as well.
So I guess obviously there is no plan to potentially reopen people who could enter this race. I mean, Bill Barry said he'd jump back in if things changed. I mean, is there a possibility that that's going to happen, or is this a done deal now and that Frank Coleman is going to take over as the leader? There will be nobody allowed to re-enter this race or enter for a first time.
No, that's correct, Fred. I mean, we have a process in place which we outlined very early in the game that, shortly after former Premier Dunderdale stepped down, we went into a leadership convention mode. We have a established a constitution of the party that outlines the procedures when such an event happens. That's been there. We had a process for nominations. We went through that. We've also started the annual district meetings, association meetings. We're into that process. So we're too far down the road to stop and now start opening, changing all the rules and opening the game and saying, okay, whoever else would like to come in now, we're going to reopen nominations. We're past that.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure if you heard Mr. Barry's interview with us yesterday morning, and he has discussed what went on with other media as well. He dropped out of the race last Thursday. He sent out a news release, didn't do any interviews on radio or television until yesterday, but had a lot of criticism for the way the PC Party was handling this race. What is your initial response to what some of the things Mr. Barry has to say? First of all, with relation to, say, stacking the delegate selection meetings, rather.
I don't think it's fair commentary that's coming out of Mr. Barry. I mean, we're hearing more from Mr. Barry now that he's out of the race than when he was in the race regarding process. I mean, he was well aware of the process at the time. In fact, he was the first candidate in. He knew the process. In fact, he acknowledged very early in the game that he was voluntarily selecting not to go with a slate program that is typical in the delegate convention, that he was just going to leave it to delegates to make that vote. He was free to make that choice, but any other candidates are free to pick the way they want to run their campaign. And this is typically the way these type delegate conventions are run. So he made a choice. He carried on with his campaign. He got to a point where he found he wasn't getting support. He decided to voluntarily withdraw his candidacy, and now he's suggesting if we change it, he will come back in. But, we can't be doing that. I mean, if somebody puts their name forward and then they say they're going to voluntarily withdraw and they'll come back in if you change, then we would have opened the floodgates. So that's just not a consideration for the party. Okay.
He also had criticism for the fact that your brother is the former Premier of the province, Danny Williams, and he said the fix was in all along when Danny Williams would not support him, and he said essentially that meant he was supporting Frank Coleman, and, the fix was in, and that because there's this relationship between you and your brother, who is the former Premier, that he saw a perceived conflict. What is your response to that, sir?
Well, I certainly can't speak for Danny Williams. Danny can speak for himself. All I can say is that I presume that any individual or any MHA or any member of the party is free to support who they wish to support. In terms of my involvement, I've indicated from the very outset, and I indicated to the convention committee when I took on the role, that I would not be publicly supporting any candidates. I've also indicated that I would not even be a delegate at the convention, so I have no role in that. I'm simply helping to organise a leadership convention that we're proceeding with in July, and we're just applying the rules as they are outlined in our Constitution.
Mr. Williams, I've asked you this before, I guess, and you've had a little bit more time to think about it. You've had one of the three candidates was ejected from the race. One has dropped out and is, crying foul. Some people say what he says is legit. Some say it's sour grapes. How much has this hurt the process in terms of the renewal that the PC party was looking for, in terms of, because with Kathy Dunderdale, the polls were down for whatever reason. That ship has sailed. We'll forget about that for now. But has this hurt the party in terms of the renewal process that you were looking for?
There's no doubt that we would have enjoyed a contested convention. It adds a little more excitement to it. From a party perspective, we haven't changed where we've been from the very beginning on this. The two examples that you have cited have been decisions that individual candidates have made. I think, the actions of both candidates are reflections on their own choices and their own actions during the campaign. So I don't think it reflects on the party per se, as opposed to the candidates. We've outlined the rules from the start. We've said we're going to have a convention on the 5th. We're still proceeding with that, and we're applying the rules the same to Mr. Coleman as we did to Mr. Barry, Mr. Bennett. So, from our side, nothing has changed. When some parties don't, some individuals or candidates don't like the way these rules work, well, they certainly knew what they were prior to going into the race, and they make their own decisions.
Mr. Williams, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Fred.
Okay, take care. That's Tommy Williams, the co-chair of the PC Leadership Convention and Campaign coming up in July. Obviously, things are full steam ahead. There will be no reopening of the race to allow other people to, either Bill Barry to get back in or others to join. He stated categorically there this morning. And as for any possible conflict, he says there is none.
Well, interesting to see how this is going to play out with the public now.
Yeah, well, it is our question of the day. Yeah. If people want to, chime in at VOCM.com, go on there and see if the PC party should reopen the leadership race to allow others to enter, or for Bill Barry to get back in, whatever the case may be. And leave us your comments as well in there.